Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me right here in my backyard. This is the first class of the year that I'm able to film outdoors, which is just so very exciting. I thought to celebrate this first outdoor class, I could do something that is a little bit more special and definitely highly requested. This will be an hour-long yoga practice. This is a slow flow, I would say intermediate level class. We are really going to tap into everything here. So flexibility, definitely. Also a lot of balancing poses and of course utilizing some strength. Ooh, sorry. There's a little bit of bugs sometimes outside as well. And there's actually some turkeys walking around. They're out of frame, but they're right over there. So I don't know. I'm kind of hoping they make their way over here and go in the shot. We also had a fox this morning over here, so I don't know. A little bit of wildlife would be fun. Anyway, back to the class. So balance, strength, flexibility, intermediate and level. It's a slow flow, so we're really not rushing through the movements. I'm not using any props. If you have them at home, it can always be a good idea to have them close by. And I know some of you do not like when I wear a hat or a cap when I film outside because you can't see my face as well, but it's just too bright. I can't do it without it, okay? So you'll just have to forgive me. The hat's not going away. I need it. I am pale. Okay, let's begin lying down on our backs in shavasana with our arms stretched up overhead. So ease your way down. And I'm looking for a little bit of a chest opening here. So I'm going to stretch my arms all the way up, palms facing up to the sky. Closing the eyes. Shifting the awareness to the flow of our breath in and out through the nose. And I want you to feel your breath go down into your belly. So when I inhale, my stomach is lifting and doming up slightly. And as I exhale, I'm drawing my belly button down towards my lower back. And at the same time, I'm also pressing my rib cage down a little bit, just to intensify the opening through the shoulders and through the chest. So inhale is a bit of an expansion, and exhale, it's as if you're trying to come more in contact with the mat below you. And just taking a few breaths here. Take one more full breath cycle in and out through your nose. And keeping your arms straight, just open them out to the sides, still keeping your palms facing up. Your hands are at the same height as your shoulders. And we'll take a little spinal twist. So walk your feet in. You can move your hips over to the right, drop both knees over to the left. And see if you can keep pushing that right shoulder and right arm down into the mat. So really trying to stretch and open up through our chest with this pose, as well as twisting through our spine. Staying in this twist, can you straighten your right leg, so all the way over towards the left, and it'll hover about a foot off the mat. I want you to flex into your right foot as if you were kicking against a wall. Really reach and stretch and extend. So as if someone was pulling on your right ankle and your right hand in opposite directions. Use core strength, keep that right leg straight and float it all the way up towards the sky. Let your left knee come up, bring your hips back to center, and let's take a little hamstring stretch here so you can grab a hold with your hands, whatever is within grabbing distance as you pull that leg in. And you can flex and point the toes, alternating. You can bend and stretch as well through the leg. It doesn't need to be perfectly straight. And we'll release. Let's find our twist to the other side, both arms straight and out. Move your hips left and drop your knees over to the right. Think of pushing and anchoring that left shoulder blade to the mat. You might notice more sensation on one side than the other. Stay in the twist. Let's add our IT band stretch and our hamstring stretch by straightening that left leg. Really flex into that left foot. Push out through your heel, curling the toes back. And we'll lift our left leg all the way up towards the sky. Let your right knee come up, shift your hips back so they're in line with your shoulders, and find your hamstring stretch on this side. Same thing, you can flex and point through your foot. You can bend and straighten the left leg, whatever feels really good to you today. And let's release. From here, let's activate the core a little bit. You can bring your hands underneath your seat just to give yourself a little bit of padding for your tailbone. And we're going to extend our legs straight up to the sky. And go ahead and point through your toes. Really stretch at the back of the knee. As you exhale, you're going to flex your right foot and lower it down to hover as much as is comfortable. And then squeeze to lift back up, and we'll alternate to switch legs. So lower and flex the left leg, belly is strong, and squeeze to lift it back up. A few more times on each side. Right leg drops and lifts up. Twice more on each side. Keep the legs straight, only lower as is comfortable. So I don't want you to feel this in your lower back. This is to activate through the lower abdominal. So last round, lift, and left leg comes down as you flex and lifts up as you point. We'll do a similar variation. This time bring your hands behind the back of your head and go ahead and lift head and shoulders off the mat. You're going to inhale, holding here. And as you exhale, drop and flex through that right leg. See if you can twist over to the left. Squeeze and lift all the way back up through center. Exhale, drop the left leg down and flex and twist over to the right. Inhale, squeeze and lift up once more on each side. Right leg lowers, right foot flexes, twist left. Keep the shoulder blades lifted, lift up. Switch sides, left leg lowers and flex, twist to the right. Come all the way back up, reach your arms up, squeeze and try to touch all the way up. And release, feet flat on the floor, knees are bent. Let's cross the right ankle over the top of our left knee, that figure four shape, and just take your reclined pigeon stretch here, holding on to whatever is accessible as you pull that left knee in towards your belly. So even when things become challenging and require a little bit more muscular engagement, notice what happens to the flow of your breath. What we never want to do is hold our breath. It does not make things easier. So keep it in and out through the nose at a rhythm you can easily maintain. Keep the figure four shape and just let your left foot come back flat to the mat. We'll take a bridge pose with this figure four shape so you can shrug your shoulders down and away from your ears. Squeeze and lift up. So pushing into your left heel, trying to flatten out through the hips. Lowering back down and uncross the legs. Let's stretch to the other side. Left ankle over the top of your right thigh and pull it in towards you. Try to relax head and shoulders on the mat. Exhale to release. Right foot comes flat. Keep the figure 4 shape, this pigeon pose variation, and lift up into your bridge, pressing down into your right heel. You can even push the back of your arms into the ground. Notice if you're wobbling. Try to steady yourself here. And lower down, uncross, and we'll find tabletop pose. So you can rock up or you can roll to the side, whatever is easiest for you here. Coming onto hands and knees, and we'll just do cat and cow from here. Nice and simple. Spread the fingertips wide. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale, round and contract. A few more here. One more round. Really articulating through the spine. Coming back to neutral, walk your hands a little forward, but not as far as what you would do in downward dog. So it's a bit of a narrower downward dog stance that we're going to take. And then you can tuck the toes under and lift your hips up and back. So it's probably going to feel a little bit awkward because we don't have the same distance that we normally do. Just stick with it, and you can alternate paddling the feet, bending one knee, then bending the other, trying to push into the heels, relax your neck. And now from here, steady the legs. We're going to lift that right leg up, inhale. And now come forward into your plank pose. Keep that right leg up lifted. Look past your hands and just drop your left knee down to the mat. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, squeeze to lift that leg up. Exhale, bring your knee to your nose, round and contract. Twice more like this. Inhale and exhale. One more. And exhale. Step that foot through between your hands. Get your knee somewhere over your ankle into our low lunge. I'm going to start this one just by framing my front foot up onto my fingertips. And staying here for a few breaths. Really melting into the stretch. Only if this is appropriate for you, you can intensify by bringing your hands up onto your thigh, adding a little bit of a back bend. Coming out of the pose, you can just lift your hips up a little bit here. We're going to come into a side low lunge. So my back toes are going to pivot towards the right side of the mat. So my hips, my shoulders are facing up to the left or over to the left. And I'm going to bend into my right knee. I'm using my right hand to push that knee and that thigh open. So really big. It's almost like warrior 2, but with your back knee down. And let's straighten that right leg, turn the right toes in for your gate pose, left arm reaches up and over, side body stretch. Into your counter stretch, left hand will come down, right arm will reach all the way up and over. And now extend your right arm directly up towards the sky. Lean a little bit more weight onto your left hand so you can point the toes. And we're going to inhale to lift the right leg up at hip level. Exhale to tap it down. 4 more times like this. Squeeze and lift. Twice more, really stretching at the back of that knee. Last one, inhale. And exhale, flatten your foot, really squeeze through your obliques to come all the way back up. Hands on your hips, go ahead and lift your right toes off the mat so you're pivoting onto your heel. And I'm turning my chest at about a 45-degree angle. I'm gonna let my hips sink back towards my heel. Maybe you're able to rest it on your heel, maybe you're up a little bit higher, but we're coming into a hamstring stretch from here. So not going directly towards our right leg, we're kind of in between both legs, folding to the center. And sometimes maintaining a bend in that right knee can actually get you deeper into that stretch, so you can play around with that a little bit. And let's go ahead and push to lift ourselves off of our heel. Turn to face forward and just find a child's pose from here. Big toes together, knees as wide as you would like them to be, folding on down. Can't really do this with a hat. Melting into the pose. One more breath here. And go ahead and come up. So keep your arms at the same distance that you have in this child's pose. So with your arms stretched out long, and just turn your knees in so they're hip width distance apart. We're gonna come forward into this modified plank. Exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Press yourself back up and then push your hips back towards your heels. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, roll forward, strong through your core. Exhale to lower. Really working the triceps and the chest. Lift up and press it back. Slow and controlled. Last one. And release. From tabletop pose, find that in-between stance. So tabletop is here for me, downward dog is usually here. I'm gonna go in between, so a shorter down dog stance before tucking the toes under and lifting the hips up and back. And same thing like we did before, just paddle out the leg, getting into the calves, the ankles, the hamstrings, stretching out long through your chest, through your arms. And then stillness with the legs. Let's reach our left leg up towards the sky as high as it'll go. Shift forward into a plank pose, strong through your core, and then bring that right knee down. Drop the belly, lift the gaze, squeeze to lift that left foot up. Exhale, knee to nose. Twice more. Last one. And we'll step it through into our low lunge on vinyasa. We'll do a version, I think this is actually called equestrian pose. Fingertips framing that front foot as we melt the hips down. Roll your shoulders down and away from your ears. And you can make this a little bit more intense by bringing your hands to your thigh, adding a little back bend. Think of this happening mostly in your upper back. So broadening through the collarbones, opening through your chest. And we'll find our side low lunge. So this time my right toes are gonna turn so that they're over towards the left side of my mat, and I'm gonna lift myself up. And I'm using my left hand to push my knee and my thigh open. At the same time, I'm trying to melt my hips down. So like a modified warrior 2 on the second side. Let's straighten that left leg, turn the toes in. Gate pose, right arm extends up and over, big side body stretch. Into your counter pose, my right hand is going to place underneath my right shoulder. Left arm reaches up overhead. You're really getting long here. And then reach your left arm straight up towards the sky. Come onto your left toes, so you're shifting a little bit more weight into your right hand. We're going to inhale, squeeze and lift the left leg up. Exhale, tap it down 4 more times. Last one, squeeze and release. Flatten the left foot to the mat. Squeeze through your obliques. Let this lift you all the way up. Hands on your hips. Pivot onto your left heel and turn your chest at around a 45-degree angle, so almost towards the top corner of your mat. And then you can start to sink your hips back, maybe hovering over the heel or resting directly on the heel. Walk your hands out and fold. Left leg can either be straight or you can play with keeping a bend in the knee. It's a really kind of a different way of getting into the hamstrings. And lifting back up, let's find our child's pose. Knees apart, toes together, press back. Take a few moments here. 5 breaths. So this distance that you have between your hands and your feet, maintain it even as you lift yourself up, coming into this more of a tabletop-like stance. So the knees are hip-width distance apart. And we're going to inhale, shift forward, little plank pose with the knees down. Exhale, tricep push-up all the way back up and stretch it back. Twice more like this. Inhale, round through the spine, strong through your core. Pull the belly in even as you lower. Push back strong as you lift. And try to put most of your body weight into your fingertips and knuckles, not into your wrists. Be really gentle and kind with your wrists. And that does take time to develop. All right, let's find a downward dog, full version of the pose here. So the normal distance that you would have between your hands and your feet. And we're just using this to transition. We're going to come to stand. Let's find ragdoll pose at the top of the mat so you can walk your feet, keeping them maybe hip or mat width distance apart. You can grab a hold of the elbows or the upper arms and just sway a little side to side. We'll focus a little bit on balancing poses. So you can release your hands down to the mat to bend your knees and push into your heels to roll all the way up to stand. Let's find tree pose, vrikshasana. So feet, I'm going to keep my right leg grounded and anchored directly underneath my hip. Left foot is going to go somewhere along the inside of that leg, being careful not to apply direct pressure on the knee. I'm externally rotating through my left hip, so really trying to open and flatten out through the hips. Pushing my right thigh into the sole of my left foot, drawing the lower belly in. And maybe the arms stay in Anjali Mudra, prayer at the heart, or you can grow the branches of your tree and expand up. Try not to dig your toes into the floor. Instead, think of pressing down evenly through all 4 corners of your foot. So through the ball of your foot and all into the heel as well. Let's bring our hands down through the heart. You're going to lift that left knee straight up out in front of you. I'm going to grab a hold of my left knee with my right hand, opening into a twist. Left arm reaches towards the back of your mat. So the hips face forward, the chest is facing to the side. Let's see if we can come into warrior three from here. Come all the way forward, hands at the heart, square everything up, and you're going to stretch and extend that left leg back. And take any arm variation here. I'm just going to do more like airplane arms. At most, you're parallel to the ground. Don't dip your chest down too low. And come all the way up, shake it out, release. Let's do the same thing, second side. So balancing strong, really pull up through the quads, so lifting up through that kneecap, lower belly is hugging in, strong through your core, and then you're placing that right foot wherever feels most appropriate to you. Pushing the thigh against the foot. This helps a lot, especially those of you who feel like your foot slips a lot when you're doing tree pose. Usually it means that you're relying too much on this right leg, on the bent leg, to do the work for you. The supporting leg is really active here. Maybe the arms open up. Draw the hands at heart center, float your right knee out in front of you, and we'll twist from here. So left hand to your right knee, right arm stretches towards the back of the mat. So really try to get that same sensation as the supine twist with the chest opener that we did at the beginning of class. Facing forward, warrior three, Virabhadrasana 3. So my right leg is going to stretch back. I'm really stretching through the back of that knee. I'm trying to keep my hips leveled as much as possible. Keeping gaze really steady on something that is not moving. Not digging with the toes, not holding the breath. All the way back up and release, shaking it out. Let's face towards the long edge of the mat. So open up your legs, heels in, toes out, so kind of towards the top corners here. Into this little star pose, you're going to inhale, broaden up, and then transition into temple. So as you exhale, hands together, deep squat. What we don't want here is for the knees to collapse in. Think of squeezing them open. Inhale, circle wide. Exhale, bring it down and in as low as you can go, twice more. Last one. And settle in this temple pose, this wide squat. You can bring your hands to the tops of the thighs. Let's release the shoulders, right shoulder down, left shoulder back. Use your hands to push the thighs open a little more. Switching sides. Left shoulder down, right shoulder back. Coming back through to center, push into the legs to straighten them. You're going to turn your left heel parallel to the shorter edge of your mat. Right toes point forward, Virabhadrasana 2. So your warrior 2 on the right side. Opening up the arms. So notice I corrected myself. My left shoulder kind of wants to come forward. So I really have to work on bringing that left shoulder and bringing that left hip back. Reverse, left hand down, right arm up. Into your extended side angle. Any variation of this pose that you'd like. pressing to lift up. We're going to do the same thing to the other side right away. So just pivot the right foot in, point the left toes out, warrior two to the left. And again here, my right shoulder is really trying to creep forward. I'm going to roll it back, sinking down into my left knee. Reverse, right hand down, left arm up. Extended side angle. Right arm reaches up overhead. You can have your form on your thigh, or you can bring the fingertips down. And we'll push evenly through both feet to come on up. Straighten both legs. Let's have both feet turned in this time for our wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, hinge forward. And soften down. Any arm variation that you'd like here. I'm just going to stay as I am. 5 slow, steady breaths. Lift your chest up halfway, so flat back, walking your hands out in front of you a little bit. Let's twist. So left hand is going to stay down, right arm stretches up. Switching sides, right hand down, left arm up. And lowering, stay up halfway, bring your hands to your hips, push your feet into the floor with a flat back, come all the way up, and let's step to the top of the mat. Mountain pose, Tadasana, close your eyes. And you can bring your left hand just kind of flat over onto your left thigh. We're going to reach the right arm up and over. So big side body stretch. I'm letting my hips go out and push out. So making this crescent shape with the body. Inhale to come all the way up, and we'll do same thing to the other side. Left arm rises up and over. Coming all the way up, Utkatasana, into your chair pose. So from this chair pose, I'm keeping my feet, my legs, my knees hip width distance apart, and I'm going to do a cactus shape with the arms, so bending the elbows at 90-degree angles. Let's see if we can do like a cat and cow from here. So you're going to inhale, squeeze the shoulder blades behind you. Exhale, round and contract, bring your forearms together. Stay in this chair. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Feeling the heat build. Last one. And exhale, fold all the way down, release. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back. And plant the palms, find your flow. So moving from plank pose down, chaturanga, urdhva mukha svanasana, your upward facing dog. And we find downward facing dog from here. Stretch out, push into your heels, lengthen through your arms. And let's come forward into plank. We're going to lower all the way down to our bellies. Go strong here. Point the toes once you're there, coming into Sphinx pose. So I'm sliding my forearms out in front of me, opening the chest, rolling and pushing the shoulders down. So we're going to add a thigh stretch. It might be too much to stretch into the thighs while having a back bend. So if this feels like pinching in your lower back, you're going to lower down and keep your hand or your head over onto your arm. If you want to maintain the back bend, you're going to bend into your right knee, reach back with your right hand and right arm, and pull the heel in. I'm not letting my knee and myself kind of sink in here. I'm really activating through my right thigh and pushing down into my right knee. I do not want to feel this in the lower back. And let's release. We'll switch sides. Think of pushing down into your left thigh, into that left kneecap. And release. We'll come into variation of locust pose. I'll just move my hat out of the way here so I can lower down. I'm going to extend my arms shoulder width distance apart, palms facing in towards one another, forehead to the mat. As I inhale, I'm going to alternate lifting my right arm and my left leg. Exhale to lower, and then alternate to switch sides, left arm and right leg. Try to keep the legs straight and lower. Twice more. With your breath, inhale to lift. Exhale to lower, last cycle. Reach your arms back behind you, palms facing down. Pick everything up, Shalambhasana, your locust pose, or a variation of it. Now let's tie all of this together. So you're going to bring your left arm forward. If you'd like, you're going to bend into your right knee, grab a hold of your right foot, either to the inside or the outside. Kind of depends on your body here. And then inhale, see if you can push the foot into the hand to lift the thigh up, and see if you can find locust pose at the same time. So this is half bow, half locust. You got it, keep breathing. And release. Let's switch sides. Grab a hold of your left foot. Start by lifting the left leg first, so finding that half bow pose on the left, and then add the locust pose. If you can't breathe, you've gone too far. And release. So kind of like a little peak pose here. You're either going to do full bow pose or locust pose if bow is not appropriate to you. So bow this time, both knees are bent. We're grabbing a hold of the feet. Push and lift. And release. Let's press back into an easy child's pose, stretching along the spine. So I'm keeping my knees close in towards one another, and I'm going to just reach my arms by my legs, folding down and releasing here. Let's come into rabbit pose. So you can just hold onto your heels from this little seed child's pose and kind of lift your hips off of your heels, rocking onto the top of your forehead or top of the head. Just getting a nice stretch along the spine. After we do a lot of back strengthening or back bends, twists can be super beneficial. So let's come onto hands and knees, and we'll find thread the needle. So palms under your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Let's reach the right arm up, inhale, and thread it through, exhale. Placing ear and shoulder to the mat, I'm going to bring my left arm up overhead to help with stability. And if you'd like, you can stay exactly as you are. If you'd like to intensify, you're going to straighten that left leg and float it up. And release, bring that knee back down, slide the left hand in, push back up. And we'll go and switch to the other side. Left arm rises. And twist it. The further you get that left arm through, the more you'll feel this between your shoulder blades. And it's very normal if one side feels a bit more awkward than the other. But if you did it on the first side, this time go ahead and straighten the right leg and squeeze to lift it up. And we can bring that right knee down, right hand comes back, pressing up to lift. And releasing from here, downward facing dog, tuck and lift the hips up. Stretching out here. Let's reach our right leg up towards the sky, bend your right knee, open up your hip. And we're gonna step our right foot to the outer edge of our right hand. So both palms are to the inside of that leg, keeping that back knee lifted. I'm pushing down into my big right toe. I'm hugging that knee in, and you can just rock a little bit. Trying to melt the hips down, finding a tiny little bit of a back bend. And let's bring that back knee down, adding a quad stretch if you'd like. Right arm will circle and reach back to pull. So I'm keeping my hips down rather than lifting up to meet the heel. Carefully releasing the hold of that back foot. And we're going to transition from here into pigeon pose. So I'm just going to toe heel to walk my foot over to the opposite side. I'm placing my right knee behind my right wrist. Totally fine if for you the pigeon pose is here. You don't need to have the foot or the knee up at a 90-degree angle. A lot of it just depends on how your bones are made and your hips. So don't stress about that part. Try to get the weight evenly through both hips so you're not leaning on one side. Find a little back bend first, open up through your chest. And lower down, fold. And we'll be here for a good 10 deep breaths. So let yourself settle and sink into it a little here. Three more deep belly breaths. And really go slowly to lift out. We're just going to come back to downward dog, or you can go back to tabletop pose, just stretching out that right leg any way that feels good. If you want to do a vinyasa right now, you absolutely can. I'm going to leave it out. I'm just going to stretch. All right, let's stretch that left leg up, bend your knee, open up your hip. And we're gonna find that lizard pose. So my left foot is gonna go to the outer edge of my left hand. My knee is stacked over the ankle, and I'm gonna keep that back knee up. So almost like a little back bend here as I'm rolling my shoulders back and allowing my hips to melt down. And let's add our quad stretch. So back knee comes down to the mat, circle your left arm, And bring that heel to meet your hand. Still pushing into our big left toe. Let's release the hold of that foot, and you can toe heel that left foot over to the right. We're finding pigeon pose on the second side. So again, take the time to figure out what angle of your left knee will feel the best. So I know for me, this side is always tighter, so it's not going to look exactly the same. And before I fold, I'm going to push my hands into the floor and find a little back bend. And then melting down. 10 slow, deep belly breaths here. There's still some tension. Try to breathe it out. Three more breaths. Let's make our way out, just like before, either down dog or tabletop pose. Just so you can stretch out that left leg. If you'd like to take a vinyasa, now would be a great time to do so. This is our final downward facing dog. And let's come down to take a seat. We're going to take a straddle fold from here, so opening our legs out wide. Oh, cute little, some kind of beetle. There's always some interesting bugs on this patio. I try not to let them bother me too much. So opening as wide as is comfortable. I'm pointing through my toes. I'm really trying to straighten my legs as much as possible, sitting up tall. We'll find a side bend. We've done a lot of side bends today. Hopefully they feel really good. Left arm is going to reach up and over. So I'm really not going towards my leg. I'm focusing on rolling my left shoulder back. And over to the second side. Right arm up and over. Coming up, this time, go ahead and face over towards that right leg as you fold. Walking the hands in, switching sides, folding to the left. And we'll fold directly through center. Might need to readjust here. Let's walk our hands in, take your time, and just sit cross-legged. We'll do just a very simple little seated twist. Left hand can go to your right knee, right hand behind you, open through your chest. Switching sides, right hand to your left knee, twisting left. And let's release. Lower all the way down to your back. Before we go to shavasana, just notice what would feel good in your body here. So that could just be pulling your knees in towards your chest, taking happy baby pose. Maybe you want to do plow or something. Actually, I am going to do plow pose now that I've mentioned it. That does sound really nice. So I'm going to come into a shoulder stand, lifting the hips up, trying to scooch my shoulders underneath me. And maybe staying in the shoulder stand or coming into plow. Again, you can really just keep hugging your knees in towards your belly, doing happy baby pose if you prefer. And we can ease on out, take your time. And making your way into shavasana, our final resting pose. If for any reason there's sensitivity in the lower back, you can do shavasana with your knees bent and just letting the knees fall in towards each other. Otherwise, the legs can go out, the arms can go out. Finding a full body relaxation. We'll be here for about 3 to 5 minutes. I want you to really give yourself this opportunity to process this longer format class, all of the poses that we did. This is also a wonderful opportunity to check in with yourself, to see how you're feeling emotionally, where your head's at. Can you surrender a little bit more and just get heavy with your breath? And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Just enjoying this final resting pose. Breathe deeper. Let this breath reinvigorate you so that you can wake yourself up through gentle movement, fingers and toes wiggling. Kind of like what we did at the beginning of class. Stretch your arms up overhead. And you can roll over to one side. We'll come up to take a seat. And you can keep your eyes closed as you do this. Hands at your heart. Notice how you feel now as opposed to when you first stepped onto your mat. Show yourself some gratitude. And we'll close by chanting Om together. We inhale to chant, breathing in deep. Thank you so much, everyone, for this, I think it was an hour long or so, this slow flow practice. The first one I got to film outside. I don't think there was any wildlife spottings, but at the same time, I wasn't really looking around as I was practicing. So anyway, felt really good to be outdoors. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and hopefully we will meet on the mat again very soon.